Hello, everybody. This is Susan Clinton, and this is Tough to Treat episode number 142. This episode is one of our podcast shorties. I am speaking about breathing patterns and why they matter in our clients. And I think it'll help you understand why we have so many clients that we look at thoracic drivers with. I hope you enjoy this. And Erica and I would like to wish everybody a very, very happy and safe holiday season. And we look forward to seeing you in the new year. We're going to be rebroadcasting our lecture from APTA over podcast number 143 and 144. And there's a special email coming out about that. So we will see you back live in the new year. Thank you very much. Enjoy the podcast. All right. So somewhere along the line, and I'm just going to put this out there, somewhere along the line, moving your chest when you breathe got a bad rap. I'm not sure where this happened. And I've been around the block for a long time. I've been in this movement world, as a physical therapist since 1980. So I've had 40 years of watching the fads and the systems come and go. And but again, somewhere along the lines, and I'm not sure where it took place, but people didn't want people's chests to move when they breathe anymore. And coming from my background, which was a huge systems approach in acute care in the 1980s, I was working in acute care hospital. And I was actually one of the PTs that was working with the pandemic we had back then, which was the AIDS virus. And most of the people who were like very sick from the autoimmune deficiency deal were really suffering from a really bad strain of tuberculosis. So I was working side by side with the pulmonologist and the respiratory therapist in those days. And I can tell you right now, one of the things that we worked on the most was getting that chest wall back online with the movement. And it was so important, and it made such a difference in the way that people could function. It made a difference right away. We could see it in their heart rate on the screen. It made a difference in their ability for their endurance. I mean, there were just so many markers and about that. And these people were coming at it honestly. I mean, tuberculosis stiffens the lungs so much and the chest wall so much. And we just, so we spent a lot of time, a lot of thoracic mobility, a lot of rotation, a lot of, from the PT kind of viewpoint, the respiratory therapist, the vibrations and the techniques that used to be what we used to call chest PT, to help them once they got in positions to be able to do some, lung drainage. And then, we were putting all the things on top of it, like, can you walk easier? Does that make it get to the bathroom better? Because they were like just struggling, to just sit on the side of their bed and breathe, much less get up and move. And it was stuff that I spent a lot of time with as they moved into outpatient. As we got better at treating AIDS, not as good as we should have, as fast as we needed to, but as we did, this was still kind of a hallmark issue that I saw a lot with this group of people, especially the ones who had tuberculosis, especially the ones who had really went through the huge TB fight. And there was also one thing that we did when I was working on the neuro rehab unit forever and ever, when I spent my time there, was like, gosh, these chest walls are so darn tight. And even, with spinal cord patients, it was like, oh, we got to get these chest walls moving. And, because it just made such differences. So when I got into the orthopedic world and everybody was laying quiet and they were teaching belly breathing, I was really quite confused. I thought, why are they teaching reverse breathing? And so it was just an interesting conversation I had all along. And as I met new people and read new things and learned more stuff and hung out in the world, and got reacquainted with people like Mary Mastery and, the other people who were kind of thinking along those lines. It was like, we need to get these chest walls moving. And for a long time, I was the heretic because I was teaching chest movement. And so when I say chest movement, I want to be very, very clear that we have good definitions for ourselves. When I say chest movement, I'm talking about these movements. I'm talking about bucket handle and pump handle breathing, which is essential to human movement. Essential. It's there for a reason. What I'm not talking about is somebody at rest doing what I call paradoxical breathing, which means that they've got a lot of barrel-chested breathing going on, which means that the rib cage is being drug up and drug down. and it's being operated by respiratory accessory muscles such as the scalenes, the sternocleidomastoid, the glossopharyngeal muscles, which are not respiratory muscles. They're not, but we try to act like they are. And, sometimes the upper traps a bit, okay? Those muscles are very important for when we put the gas pedal down. When we have to move into flight or fight, we need those muscles to come on because we have to hyperrespirate, but that's a whole different story. When we're calm and at rest, we should be able to breathe with our chest and our belly nice and quiet and nice and easy, but not with those extra muscles ruling the day. Okay, so part of this may be because I think part of the change may have been because people were using different terms for different things. And so people just got the idea that you just taught people to belly breathe. And as I'm working with people, well, they always have questions like, well, in yoga, we do this breath. And it's like, and that's great because in that exercise and in that routine, I want you to do that. I'm not telling you not to do that, but I'm going to teach you all. And what I teach every single one of my clients is this. It's called what I call ground zero breathing. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring that parasympathetic system on, and I'm trying to get their foot off the damn gas pedal. I want their foot to come off the gas pedal. I want them to be able to lower themselves all the way down. And I want them to get to the quietest, most calm, most efficient, easiest breath they can get to. Because in our society, in our culture, and I'm going to dare say the world now with everything we've been through, we can ramp up to a situation pretty easily. The problem is we adapt and we may ramp down, but only part way. So we live with our foot kind of, if it's not on the gas pedal, it's touching it. It's ready to go in a moment's notice. And what I want is not only for their foot to get off the gas pedal, I want them to put their foot down somewhere else. I want to get completely away from the gas pedal. So if you think about it, when you need to stand up and go to work and your clients walk in the door, you have to put your foot on the gas pedal a little bit. We have to have some of that sympathetic drive in order for us to create that anxiousness to wake us up, get us going, bring all things on board. But we don't want to be so up here that we're like ready to run from the tiger. So there's abilities to put your foot on, to put your foot on the gas a little bit or a lot, depending upon what you need. If there's an emergency when you're working, your foot goes down harder on the gas pedal, right? And you go tend to the emergency. But what happens in our culture afterwards is that we don't take our foot off the gas. We just kind of keep going with it on there until we get super sick or our system falls into compression, right? So what I like to do with everybody is teach them how to get back down to ground zero breathing. So just a couple of thoughts here as we go through. I think most of you already know this, but as we breathe in, the lungs have to push out this way and they push down on the diaphragm. The diaphragm pulls down to create negative pressure in the chest so that the airflow can come in easily, right? If we have to force our lungs out and force our lungs down, that means the diaphragm's not doing its job. The diaphragm really pulls. It's the muscular component that pulls the air down, but it also puts pressure on this visceral water sac, okay? And liquid and air are non-compressible. So when you compress down on a liquid sac, it's going to bulge out in front, it's going to bulge out down below, it's going to bulge out in back. Okay, it's a balloon. You squeeze the top of the balloon or you press down on the top of the balloon, it's gonna bulge underneath. That's just the way it works. It's an elastic loading, and inspiration drives that. So it drives an elastic loading and a muscle lengthening of this area. And then expiration drives a little bit, and since we're having elastic loading, let's just call it rebound. This is for quiet. Okay, this is for quiet breathing. If we're going to be doing, heavier breathing, then yes, we're going to have much more of the contraction and the muscle shortening, like for a heavy exhale. But when it comes to quiet breathing, the diaphragm and pelvic floor muscles act together. We get the descent and the elastic loading and the muscle lengthening, and then expiration is rebound. Everything just comes out, okay? Quiet as it can be.